Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next event, which is a screening of In the Bell. In the Bell is an intimate fusion of visual art, music, and verbal stories about exploring human complexities with sex, gender, and identity. I haven't seen this one before, so I'm really looking forward to what's coming up. And after the screening, we have questions and answers. You can join with your own questions by joining us in the Zoom meeting. Just check the big orange button on our homepage. It will lead you to the Zoom meeting. And as always, please also remember to fill our questionnaire about the festival. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Okay, let's warm up a bit first, I guess.
And so we actually arrived in Egypt on the day that Anwar Sadat had been assassinated, the president of the country. So as we were driving to our hotel from the airport, it was pretty obvious things were going wrong. There were tanks being deployed onto the streets, soldiers being deployed, because obviously the government felt that a coup was in hand, and so it deployed the army to suppress any coup. I was only about a year out of the military, so I was no stranger to seeing people in uniform, and no stranger to seeing people, I suppose, behave in that way, i.e. deploy onto the streets. I'd seen some of that in Northern Ireland, but I didn't feel threatened, strangely. I was a very fit young man, and so were the people around me. We were all fit guys. There was like 2 Royal Marines, 1 SAS guy.
So you have playing war or you have playing house, and it's interesting what that sort of builds to, because you have all these idiot warmongering fascist patriarchal twats that are going around killing each other, and then you have the woman that is looking after the home, raising the children, and all of these stereotypes come from this. It is incredibly toxic, and that people do come out of that feeling like very confused. It's like, why do we have to have these angry men? You know, like why is that so much a big part of our culture?
I guess the scissors are just bit. They have to get this the hard way. all these people, these white people around you, they've like messed up your brain. You don't know what you're thinking or talking about, and you need to come home and like have like a deep spiritual cleanse, and you'll be fine.
Sleepy sang to me, in dreams he came, that voice which calls to me and speaks my name. And do I dream again? Do the eyes there inside my mind?
So used to delicately skirting around the bastard. Alright, it's coming off.
I remember at one point that the two Royal Marines had a plan to try and escape, if that's the right word, although they wanted to try and hike across the desert and make it to Israel. And I thought, well, excuse me chaps, but the basic geography is that there's a Suez Canal between us and Israel, or between us and the Sinai Desert, and then there's a little issue of the Sinai Desert to cross. Now maybe they felt quite comfortable doing that, but I had my doubts that it was a wise course of action. There I was sitting in a 5-star hotel by a swimming pool drinking all the beer I could, versus trying to black up my face, get provisions together and make my way across Cairo and across the Suez Canal and through the Sinai Desert to Israel. Thankfully things settled down within about 2 weeks. We even had some beers with one of the tank crews. There was literally a tank parked outside the hotel. They would see us by the pool drinking beer on a hot day, and they were all sitting sweltering by their tank, and we would sort of offer them beers. And so we got chatting to them as you do sort of military personnel to military personnel. And it was pretty obvious that once the government realised that it wasn't facing an immediate uprising and coup, that things were going to settle down.
Testosterone is like a drunk, angry man that charges things, pushes things out of the way. Oh, stop thinking. Stop having emotions. It's encountering difficulties and doing it anyway. Being fantastic, being fabulous, or just, functioning in hard times. That's so the opposite of the man standing there, like being strong and having bottle and having shell shock and all this, macho bullshit.
you get all those women who are just like, oh, I want a real man in my life. Like, oh, I'm a woman, I need to be cared and looked after. But also, don't patronize me. I am a woman and I'm gonna fight you, women. They play the double-edged sword.
Mama just killed a man with a gun against his head. Pulled my trigger, now he is dead. Mama, life just begun.
I mean, only a few years previously they'd been through the 6-day war with Israel and had suffered hugely at the hands of the Israeli military. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why those guys around me felt a little bit uncomfortable. They kind of felt, well, people have my passport, do they know that that's an armed forces passport? And their thoughts were quite legitimately, well, supposing people realise I was in the Royal Marines and think I'm over here on another mission, not going to go diving and blowing up a coral reef, but they're sitting out in the desert as 23 tons of marine blasting gelatine that we've got an appointment with, to go and do this job. So somebody could possibly misread that situation and go, okay, we've just had, the president of the country's been assassinated, we've had an attempted armed coup, and now a bunch of ex-military people from the UK show up with 23 tons of marine blasting gelatine. What's that all about? At least it would raise their curiosity a bit, I'd say. So that was a funny job. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining, but it had its moments.
It does sometimes feel like it's a bit of it's certainly a battle, but is it the war? The war is really like a peaceful one. We're not all the same.
A man can have a girly night. A man can wear women's clothes. A man can put on makeup. All the things that women think that are intrinsically theirs. What is womanhood to you?
I'm losing my voice now. No. It's more mental than anything else.
Okay.
When you're in saturation, you find yourself living in very close proximity to a bunch of other similar alpha males, if that's the right term. These are all pretty self-selecting individuals. Easily 50% of the people I work with in the diving industry were ex-special forces. And although I'd had some exposure to special forces when I was in the military, I did free-fall parachuting, I worked with guys in 22 SES, I worked with guys in the SBS. I wasn't part of those regiments, but I felt I was accepted by some of the people in those domains. You go through those experiences, and then translating into diving when you're living in very close proximity together in a saturation system, there is no room in that environment for anything other than being part of an exclusive club.
I like performing. I like that when I was playing piano, say a lunchtime concert at school, I sang in the choir at school, and I poured myself into music emotionally. It was everything. One of my favourite bands is Muse. The main singer, his vocal range is very much on the higher end of, I guess, what described as like male vocal range. Played to my ambitions of wanting to be in a band, making music. I want to be able to sing. Having a voice is so important.
Everyone has to feel that the other person that they're diving with, and you generally dive in pairs from a diving bell, is going to be there for them if they get injured or in trouble, that the other person's going to come and get them. And so I had an accident, that's a euphemism for being injured, badly injured, effectively putting myself between a large steel structure and a large moving object. Was never going to be the smartest thing I ever did. I got back under my own steam, but you're connected by an umbilical, so it's very easy to pull yourself along your umbilical and get back to the bell. So I'm saying to the supervisor, oh, I just need to go back to the bell. And the supervisor's saying, well, why? I think I put myself between the clamp and the structure. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I think I've been squished a bit. There's that whole piece of total embarrassment of going, I've done something really stupid here, and how are my colleagues going to think of this? And your hope and your aspiration initially is, oh, I'm just bruised, I'll just get back to the bell.
So when I say it's about how you were raised, it's also about who you are as well. So my parents did try to set me up with arranged marriages quite a few times. The way that it works is they have a photograph of the other person and they show you, and then you meet if you like each other. But with parents, my dad unsuccessfully tried to get any of us married off. We were all very strong-willed children, and I would just be like, nope. I'd rather die than get married to anyone. And my mum was like, here, you have to learn to cook and clean because these are things that a man looks for in a relationship. And I'm just like, nope. I'm gonna work and my partner is gonna be a stay-at-home dad. Like, that's the plan.
I quickly realised that my legs had swollen up and weren't working very well, and that things were going from bad to worse pretty quickly. So I was able to get the suit off okay, but I noticed that my undersuit had become really tight around my lower limbs. Basically, your legs begin to fill up with fluid, and so you start to take on the sort of shape of having sausages for legs. There's a denial inside yourself. You don't want to discuss that. You want to try and put a barrier between you and something that's not only painful physically, but it's painful mentally, to think that you let your friends down to a degree, because you have to be your own safety person in the water. And if you put yourself in harm's way, generally the first reaction of people is, as long as you're still alive, is, you silly sap. Not quite those words, but yeah, tough luck, you know. You did something stupid, you paid a price for it. I was very lucky that it was mostly compression and crush injuries. I was able to get very good medical help in the chamber system that necessarily wouldn't have been there even a few years earlier. So I was one of the first people to be treated with sort of intravenous steroids. But I'm talking, 25 years ago. Decompression lasted about 4 days. It was relatively quick, but then I was probably about another 6 weeks before I gained full mobility. Yeah, the subsea world, I mean, okay, it is really a strange place to be. It's a strange place because a lot of diving is boring. You're waiting on things happening, something to be lowered from the surface, some crane up to happen, something to happen. And in those times, you're sitting there in a nice warm suit with your helmet on, just daydreaming almost. Some people would feel uber anxious being in the dark, sitting on the bottom of the North Sea. But I always felt very comfortable in that arena, which is one of the reasons why I was so calm, relaxed.
To shock them, I just basically turned around and said, I used to be a guy. And they were just like, what? Like, well, it's true though. I used to be a guy, and they were just like, what? And they actually like physically did an appraisal of my body to check, and they were like, nah, you got giant boobs. I'm like, they are fake. I mean, they're not, but at the same time, I was trying to prove a point.
So, I've not sung for... Okay, I've not sung frequently for about maybe 8 years, like often enough, but like properly for over a decade. In my parents' kitchen,
My mum has a CD player and a whole bunch of old CDs she plays when she's baking things. She used to have one of like musicals, and I think Phantom of the Opera was there. And when I was younger, I had a higher pitched voice than I do now. I'm not the deepest voices, but I used to be able to sing along to the female part of Phantom of the Opera, mostly. And I got I describe it as an existential sadness the day my voice started breaking, because I couldn't follow along with it anymore, and I didn't understand why I felt so sad.
So I guess it's not just a simple, 20 minutes in the bathroom that it was, but it's also not like a general aesthetic and a pair of scissors.
No.
Maybe part of it, like, I'm worried about like what other people think of me sometimes, and kind of maintains one foot in the sort of male privilege of being able to walk around unmolested, and there's the shield, and then there's the political act of like defiance against what should a woman look like.
Successful as a diver, but yeah, you can put yourself in a bit of an odd headspace. I sometimes used to sort of think of myself sitting there, maybe with a lipstick on or something, pearl earrings inside my diving hat, no one could see me because you're covered with an nasal mask that covers your face up. So when you see another fellow diver in the water, you see through 2 panes of glass, you just see their eyes, and it's a bit like looking at a superhero, I suppose. You just see like their eyes, but you don't see their face as such. And I always had this thought, no, it's quite silly to think really. Can't imagine sitting in the bell putting your face on before you went for a dive. It's never going to work, is it? Yeah.
We should be able to be comfortable in ourselves in whatever way we feel. But at the same time, if I'm walking around, let's say I'm in a shop and someone will say, oh, just behind that gentleman. And I'm like gentle, but I ain't the dude. So it's like, well, it would actually help if I was slightly more visually aligned with what I present as what I identify with. And I think it was just partially being stubborn, but like leaving it long enough time for it to be my choice. I mean, I've had the relaxing gestation period. I've had the 9 months. I've had 9 months and 9 months and 9 months, and now it's a girl. It needs to come out a little more.
wasn't like overnight, but like it started happening, let's say, when I was 12, 13, probably 13, and took like a few months to solidly change. It's felt wrong. It feels like there's some pressure pushing up against my voice, and I don't know if that's just a mismatch from what I want / expect, or if it's just that I'm sad that I lost the voice that I was okay with. I kind of stopped singing after that until my voice had settled, and even after that I didn't do a lot of singing. It's the main reason I've been more shy, more everything else, that I've held back from doing things.
Well, guys can only pee once a day, and I'm just like, that's it, that's the key. I need to only pee once a day, and that's gonna like make me a guy. Like, that's the goal now. I was only like 6 or 7 at the time, and I would like break down crying just because I peed more than once a day, and that was like the marker. Because like it was such a throwaway comment, but I fixated on it so much.
It's, I mean, diving is a very specialist world. It's very self-selecting. The people that go into it come from a heavily, I suppose, alpha male, again, I use that term, very physical, male-dominated background and world, and they feel very happy in that total camaraderie that they achieve in that world. And I suppose any aspect of your gender that wasn't completely aligned with their hopes and thoughts and expectations would be a huge challenge to them. I can't imagine they would ever have come out in a dive system to somebody and said, "Hey guys, there's a trans person in here, locked in here for the next 28 days. I can imagine it would have them clawing at the door to get out. You know, get me out, decompress me. You know, I don't want to share this space." It would be uncomfortable. And it still is. It's an uncomfortable thing for some people.
So much of my shape is already quite masculine, but I guess it comes down to so much of what is my assumption of what being a woman is. How much of that physicality do I need to adopt in my own mannerisms, the way I walk, the way I hold myself? How much of that is actually important to being a woman? Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I can actually be the one that can get away with having a beard. Mm-hmm. Maybe someone that was born a woman, has a beard, that's okay. I feel like I've got other ways that I have to compensate. I don't have tits for Christ's sake. And so I don't have the luxury of being able to go, yeah, I'm a woman with a beard. Yeah. I can't get away with not shaving my legs until I've actually experienced the whole package, like the waxing, the imac, the shaving, the epilating, all of this, before I can go, oh, but I don't need to shave.
I treat the world as if I'm, you know, a straight white male, and just walk around and be like, here's the world. Like, I would describe myself as demi-fluid. The way that demi-fluid works is that 2 parts gender-wise, or multiple genders at once. I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, well, I'm more male today, or like I'm more female today, or I'm just like want to be as ambiguous as possible, and kind of like fluctuate between all of those. He actually gets my pronouns correct. Hey dude, or like hey Mila. So he does like adjust genders whenever, whichever. I'm married to like 2 people.
like, fuck, I need to just get on with being girly, you know, rather than being like a political punching bag. And it's the first time actually I've worn a dress in months, I think. I want to feel feminine. I want to feel my version of feminine.
Thank you, mate. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are watching this. It's like, it's so narcissistic, but like, it means a lot to me to do this. Like, I hang on to this for so long, and it's like an act of protest. It's like, fuck you, I can be a girl, I can have a beard. I just feel like, you know, I don't know if the world's ready yet. And not everything I do has to be an act of protest against the fucking heteronormative fucking stranglehold. Like, whatever, man, I can live my life sometimes. Life ain't easy.
I'm kind of like just being as much as I can be.
Just breaking
And
course.
if at some point I reevaluate and I just change my mind about who I am, then I change my mind about who I am.
And also looking down on people that aren't male enough. And that's the thing, like that's where it's toxic, where it's like if people are kind of forced to consider who they are by the binary system, the Hollywood mentality, the media, going, oh, boyman's girl, and they're both white, and fuck you, other guys. It's a culture that gets under the skin, and it stops people from feeling good about themselves. They don't recognise that life is a spectrum. We wouldn't be in boxes. The whole binary thing, it's probably not going to be with us in 10 years. Because it's like, oh, you identify as a puffin, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just been like a really great journey going places and people being like, are you transgender or are you just an asshole? Like now it's going to be really difficult. This has been like a tiny little beard. It's going to be like now people will look at me, they'll be like, you're definitely transgender. I'm going to give you shit. So it's like having the beard. It's like the fucking shield against all that bullshit. It's like, haha, fuck you can't do nothing, man. You don't know who I am, you don't know my story, you can't judge. And then people are like, oh yeah, you're alright, you know? But now it's just gonna be me in a dress with my ridiculous body shape.
I guess the long story short is I still have ambitions and I want to follow them.
Yeah.
I'm just scared of it not being okay enough to me emotionally.
Yeah.
Rather than being perfectionist. And I'm trying to stop doing that now. Not purely for singing, but just be able to have a day-to-day voice that I can accept as me.
So the devastating effects of the coronavirus is that you're all sat in on a Friday night watching a transgender person shave. Activate their femininity. It's like, I don't think anyone will be watching, but thank you.
Hello everybody and welcome to the No Labels, No Walls plus We Are One Festival 2020. My name is Markus Vähälä and I'm your host live from Finland with my co-host Michael Bierman from Los Angeles. And welcome Maria Sappho and Kate Steenhauer. We just saw your magnificent film In the Bell, streamed live from www.nolabelsnowalls.net. Welcome to the show and the Q&A. Tell a little bit about yourself. Maria.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Maria Sappho. I'm originally from New York, but I live in England studying my PhD. I'm particularly interested in creating art that looks to build itself via stories that are out with my own experience. So I'm really interested in always working with things, people, and objects which I work with in order to create artistic practice. And so, yeah, this is a really great opportunity to build a new community and to meet and form relationships with people as a creative process. Yeah. Kate?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate. I'm a visual artist, and I'm interested in creating art that is evolving in particular, so not the traditional static experience that you might are used to, but interested in exploring how visual art can be dynamic, interactive, and develop in time, basically. And drawing lends itself very good in that respect because it's such a direct, fluid medium. And it's in the act of making, it seems to be quite works quite well with music and verbatim in that respect. So yeah, those are the kind of the projects that I'm involved in that explores this component of my practice.
How did you meet? How did this movie project came about? Maria.
We met accidentally at Kate had a screening at a festival that I went to that my partner had a piece in. So I was really just kind of gate crashing their dinner after the festival was over, and I was sat next to Kate, and yeah, we just got chatting, and she had a different project that she was looking for a musician on, and we gave each other our contact details. And I think after we first did the collaboration on her other project, which was painting music, we decided that we wanted to do something just us, and this kind of really has just been developing over the course of about a year, kind of not within our control, just becoming its own kind of entity. Yeah.
So Kate, how did you start working together with Maria?
Yeah, so the project Painting Music, that we got Maria involved. Painting Music, it uses artificial intelligence to create music from live painted drawings. And I'm the visual artist on the project, and I work with an AI specialist. And but the obvious component that was missing was the music and like improvisation side. So we got Maria involved for a few days just to teach us the basics in a way, because in a way it was a quite arrogant undertaking of like an engineer and a visual artist creating music all of a sudden. So but yeah, this is how we got started and got talking, and we seem to be quite interested in similar things really. And our practice focus on real people and real life, and you know, and keeping it spontaneous and honest in that respect. So I think we in a way found out that we had very complementary kind of skills and also similar interests in that sense. So and Maria is she's really into improvisation, which scares me, which is good. I think we push each other in different ways. So that's how we got started, basically.
There's so much power and emotion in your movie, in my opinion. And you're mixing it with artificial intelligence. That's a technology for a guy who doesn't know much about this kind of art. So how did this technology came about, and have you done it before?
Yeah, well, that is a different project. So that's not part of the in the bell. So the artificial intelligence, it really comes down to, you know, what I said in the beginning, that it seems like music and drawing, it's very a compelling combination. And you know, when you are evolving this, then drawing is not a static art form. So the obvious difference between drawing and music is time, composition in time, or composition in space. So, but then still, there's so much analogy between the two art forms. So, in a way, the painting, music, artificial intelligence was really, how can we explore this in a cold way, in a more scientific manner? How can you correlate, you know, the physical parameters of one art form to the other? Which is really difficult, you know, but that was the fundamental kind of, you know, question, I guess. But Maria and I work a lot more creatively, but again, it stands that music and drawing seem to have a very a good combination. So yeah.
No labels, no walls. Festival is all about bringing people together. So we happen to have a composer with us, Paola Livorsi. What did you think about the film and the music?
I'm very sorry because I could connect only now. So yes, I missed it, but I'm curious to hear. Of course, very interesting.
We have a question. We work with people who are transgendered a lot, and also, and I heard a lot of stuff about, you know, being transgender. I don't know if you all want to talk about that and how it influenced the film.
Yeah, it started really with Bethany, who was she's into the engineering side of things and the commercial diver. And I know her actually as a personal friend, because I'm also a trained engineer in a coastal engineering field. So I used to work for her. So she's now approaching retirement, and I used to work for her as she presented herself as male. But only a few years ago, she came out to me, and, you know, we are quite good friends. So we started talking, and then I met Maria, and it kind of inspired us, the whole story of Bethany. And then we wanted to support Bethany with other voices from the trans community, just to see where the spectrum, how people go about it, and from different backgrounds and different ages and different struggles in a way, and different issues. So everyone on the project so far brings something else to the table, and some of them are quite creative in their own way. So it's an interesting mix in that sense.
Maria, how did this theme connect with you?
Yeah, all I would add to what Kate was saying, because that's very much the case. We didn't plan it to be this way. It just kind of started to become that way, and people started to become external collaborators, and we kind of just let it grow to what it is now, where you have this kind of, we have 10 hours of materials of stories that we're kind of now figuring out how to work with. But I'd say even more than that, it's always a personal thing. And even in these conversations that me and Kate have been having, most of this work has been kind of virtual. We're also considering, well, what is gender and identity for us? And we're having quite intense email correspondences about feminist literature and reconsidering our place, especially in this time where we're spending time in our houses more often than not, and really thinking probably more than we should about how we want to be, how we want to be seen. And so I think that it has grown into this idea of like a collective, what do we understand about ourselves, and actually what do we not understand about ourselves that we can learn the way someone else is talking about themselves, is really it seems like right now it's still just an ongoing conversation.
I would like to introduce another composer and a musician and my colleague and my friend, Mr. Markus Raivio from Kukunori. the central union of well-being and culture. How did you see the film and the themes that it handles?
Hello, Maria. Hello, Kate. Sounds just so interesting and so inspiring. I love this. Before I came to be a director of Kukunori, I used to work as a music therapist, and we have a terms like clinical improvisation in music therapy, and I'm just really interested about all these combinations and what will come out from this kind of melting pot. And I really see that the improvisation approach here is so interesting. So there can be so much to research, emotions and different kind of interconnections. So sounds very, very interesting. Thank you.
I just say that I think for me personally, of course, the improvisation is always at the heart of how I see these things. But I think when you improvise, you're really taking the courage to be yourself in the moment. And that's the skill of improvisation. That's why anyone can do it. And it's in all fields. But that is, yeah, you're right. It's what is underlying when you're working with so many people being themselves and being brave to be themselves with us. We're working innately with improvised practices, whether that's musical or just social.
So we go to Los Angeles. Strindberg Laboratory also uses improvisation. In what way does your work link with this In the Bell performance?
Well, yeah, we do maybe a little bit more usually traditional theater, but we work with also with transgender. We work with people with autistic spectrum. We do, all kinds of theater. And I just wanted to say about your work. I know Marcus asked about our work, but I have to get it out because I just came. Your film had already started, and I started looking at it, and it was so beautiful. Somebody's painting, and I started listening, and it was just like this things revealing, and it was. Like you're starting to watch it and you think it's something else, and you're like, oh, it talks about this, and then it goes to this different thing. So it was such a deep experience to finally start understanding, oh, these are different people. They talking about they experience certain experiences they had about their identity, and it was really great. And of course our work, acting and theater, it's all about identity. We work a lot with the people who've never done acting before. We do workshops in the rehabilitation and everything. So it's always finding your identity first before you can start really acting. So it's a kind of process. Like it's always a process, and it's a lot about talking about their stories and who they are and how they experience different things. So yeah, that was really, thank you. That was really beautiful experience. I could really kind of, more. I've just hoped to. I could have taken much longer, what I saw and heard. So it was really nice.
And what's great too is because of the paintings, transgender and all the people when they speak, a lot of stigmas attached to that particular community.
Exactly.
By having the visual there, people saw the art. And so they just heard the words as opposed to seeing, and then so it really, I think it helps people to open up, to what they're saying as opposed to who they think they are. So it was just really, really nice, that thing, because we started working with transgender. That's how we started our work in the community, and they are the most marginalized community, I think, of any population. So that's why it's such a dear community to us. So thank you.
And also just like because when you were seeing the paintings and you start listening, so you really start listening when you have something else instead of so refreshing, not having their image. So you just start listening about their experience, even if you don't know exactly what they're talking about, but you can hear the experience. So that was great.
Thank you so much. We are closing in on our scheduled time, so I want to thank you, Maria and Kate, for this wonderful opportunity to experience your movie and meet you
Yeah.
live here in the No Labels No Walls Festival. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity, and thanks very much for those comments. I mean, it's really useful to have feedback, and it would be interesting to. Well, one of my, I know we're running out of time, but one of my questions would have been back to, how do you find your identity? Have you find exercises for things like that? That would be quite interesting to see what your experiences are. But yeah, the only thing that I would say was that we tried in the narrative. These are people with passions and. Either in music or in their professional career. So in that sense, we thought that was important to state that up front, and then unravel the identity a little bit behind it. So, but their passions, I mean, that's number one in a person, and that's their one of the important things. So that's how we build up the structure in that sense. But yeah.
And please, everybody watching, stay with us in the chat, in the video. We're having Camilti, I hope I'm pronouncing correct, from Turkey, Gizem, share her dance, talking about identity, using dance in other places around the world, and finding her voice through dance. So please stay with us. And yes, and if you guys, Maria and Kate, if you can stay in the chat, we would love to have you continue this conversation. And Marcus, both Marcus, is there anything else you want to add before we switch? Are we switching now?
We continue with our program soon with some music coming from our friends from Scotland, from We Are One Community.
Fantastic.
So thank you so much, Kate and Maria, and let's keep in touch.
And Kate and Maria, Thursday we have All Things Strindberg, so please join us. And also, if you want a great Trans-Latina art, Trans-Latina Coalition is doing an event on Saturday.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, so I'll definitely try and tune into that. And what did you say? What was Thursday?
That's All Things Strindberg about our work. And then there's also, you guys actually would love this. So tomorrow, Paula, for you and Cindy and Mark.